Ladies and gentlemen, the 2025 Belgian Grand Prix race weekend is upon us, and it's time to make some perfectly reasonable predictions. Starting with the race winner, Max Verstappen. And I know what you guys are thinking. The car was undrivable in Silverstone. Even Max Verstappen was complaining on the radio in wet and in dry. So, what are they gonna do? Well, after people have been fired, the people at Milton Keynes who are remaining in Red Bull, they have created some title-defining F1 upgrades which will be shipped to Max Verstappen only because Yuki Tsunoda is shit in Belgian Grand Prix and also in Hungarian Grand Prix. So this is the last Hail Mary to make Verstappen's car faster or at least drivable, so that he can continue to fight for the 2025 Drivers' World Championship. They're not even going to try for the Constructors' Championship because they have a shit car and the second Red Bull driver is cursed. So things are going to change. And the reality is, if a performance window exists, no matter how narrow that is, Max Verstappen is going to find it. The only thing these upgrades need to do is to make the car go faster, find some extra performance. We don't care about widening the performance window. No one cares about that. Just make the car faster and Verstappen will find a way to drive it. A lot of people have been fired in Red Bull, including the team principal, and a lot of people have been leaving the organization as well. So a lot is riding on this title-defining F1 upgrades, which will be shipped exclusively to Verstappen's car, which means he is going to win the 2025 Belgian Grand Prix and will close the gap to Oscar Piastri and Lando Norris in the title fight. Then we have his teammate Yuki Tsunoda. He's going to finish P16 because 4 people are going to DNF. Dead last, just like in Austria and in Silverstone, the last 2 races. There will be a unique thing though. He is not going to pick up a 10-second penalty like the last 2 races. Improvement. Minuscule improvement. Step by step, Yuki Tsunoda, this is his last year in Formula 1, deserves to be fired because he's shit. But this time, he is going to improve. He's going to perform better than he has. Despite finishing last, this time he will not pick up a 10-second penalty or any penalty points on his super license. Then we have the 2 DNFs out of 4. I will talk about the other 2 DNFs in a while, about these 2 motherfuckers. Now, I am still mad at these 2 guys for ignoring Nico Hülkenberg on the Silverstone podium. So I want them to have a crash with each other and reach the flashpoint in the title fight, which is very likely going to happen. It's perfectly reasonable. So when we realized that these 2 drivers will be fighting for the world title, a lot of us speculated that, how McLaren is going to manage the intra-team rivalry, how these 2 drivers are still going to be friends and how their relationship is going to evolve and all that type of crap. And credit to McLaren, credit to Oscar and credit to Lando for keeping things in control so far. But it's easy to keep things under control when you're at the start of the season, when there are many more Grand Prix to go. Right now, there's only 8 points between them and we are already down 12 races. So with each subsequent Grand Prix, the pressure to beat your teammate and the desire to beat your teammate and the desperation to overtake your teammate will increase. So in Spa, a track that Oscar Piastri loves, he has already said it's his favorite track. He is going to get pole position and Lando Norris will be in P2 or P3 or whatever like that. Then they will be battling for the lead. Things will get desperate because, like I mentioned, it's very easy to remain calm and be civil when there are too many races left in the Formula 1 season. So right now, it will reach a flashpoint. These 2 guys will crash and it will not be a clear-cut crash. It will not be clear like, this guy made a mistake or this guy ran out of control. It'll be 50-50 and that's when the relationship between these 2 motherfuckers will be strained. Tell you what, there was never a time in Formula 1 history where 2 drivers from the same team fighting for the world title were civil throughout the entire season. Initially, it will start well, but then one of them will, start to play some mind games. They will do some things, elbows out defending, try to jeopardize other person's race, try to put them in the wall or some shit like that. And it's gonna happen, regardless of how much of papaya rules is in place. When you realize that the number of races are less and less and less and the pressure to continue to pull the gap on your teammate increases, all of those rules, all of those civilities just go out of the fucking window, and it's just, brawling. And that's what's exactly gonna happen. We will love it, and I will make a bunch of videos about it. Then we have P2 and P3. Ferrari. Lewis Hamilton's first ever podium with Ferrari will happen in the 2025 Belgian Grand Prix. Now, to all of the people who are laughing, fuck you. And second of all, they have an upgrade coming, okay? They have tested this in Mugello. The initial results were a bit inconclusive because Lewis Hamilton said that the car feels the same as before, but it's Mugello, it's a different circuit, and the suspension upgrade that they have is going to work. And let me explain to you why. So in Silverstone, both of the Ferraris had pace, right? Lewis Hamilton looked like he was going to be on the front row. He fucked up in the final sector in the qualifying. That's why, he was behind, whatever it is. Then in the race, the car felt snappy. It means that the degree of change that Lewis expected in the car when he put the steering input or the throttle input, the car behaved more erratically, more unpredictably than the car did in the sessions before. Similar thing with Charles Leclerc. He went to the pits right after the formation lap, turned out to be a mistake. Strategy errors, the race kind of went away from him. But in Silverstone, these two motherfuckers were genuinely fighting for the podium position on merit. So with both of the McLarens out, because that's gonna happen, there is no way Sir Lewis Hamilton and Charles Leclerc will not be on podium. I'm predicting Charles Leclerc P2, Lewis Hamilton P3, because Leclerc has the slight advantage in the qualifying session, and that's why he is going to edge the 7-time world champion just a little bit. These two guys are going to be podium, mark my fucking words. Up next, we have Lance Stroll in P9. Now again, to all of the people who are discounting the GOAT of the sport, fuck you. It's time to put some respect on his name. If it was not for Lance Stroll, we will not have the record of the most Q1 exits in history. Do you think anyone in the future are going to break that record or even come close to that? Fuck no. And also, if it weren't for Lance Stroll, we wouldn't have got Sebastian Vettel's 2 extra years in Formula 1. Sebastian, in his final years of Ferrari, he was kind of treated like shit, and Sebastian Vettel, he announced his move to Aston Martin on like 100th year of Ferrari, some celebration was happening, or the 90th year of Ferrari or some shit like that. We wouldn't have had that moment if it wasn't for Lance Stroll. If it wasn't for Lance Stroll, Eddie Jordan's Formula 1 team wouldn't be alive. If it wasn't for Lance Stroll, we wouldn't have multiple Fernando Alonso podiums. We wouldn't have seen Fernando Alonso beating the shit out of Mercedes in an Aston Martin in a customer team in 2023. If it weren't for Lance Stroll, we wouldn't have Fernando Alonso driving an Adrian Newey designed Formula 1 car in the upcoming season. So it's time to put your differences aside and put some respect on Lance Stroll's name. P9! That's what's gonna happen. Up next, we have Oliver Bearman. He is going to finish P10 after starting from bumfuck nowhere. This is a problem with Oliver Bearman throughout the season, I have observed. He is great in executing the race, even ambitious pit stop strategies, surprisingly long stint in shit tires. But something happens to him in qualifying, man. Something happens to him in qualifying. He cannot, stick a lap together. Maybe because he's just a rookie and, he still needs to find the ideal tire window or some shit like that. But regardless, he's going to qualify like P18 or P17 or something like that. And then he's going to drag that Haas all the way into the points and get driver of the day. That's my prediction of Oliver Bearman. Now the other 2 DNFs. So the first 2 DNFs are these 2 motherfuckers. The other 2 DNFs are Esteban Ocon and Nico Hülkenberg. So Esteban Ocon, being the rat-faced bastard that he is going to crash into Nico Hülkenberg, ending his race. Esteban will get 10-second time penalty or maybe a drive-through penalty. He will serve the penalty and try to continue, then realize that the damage on his car is also too much, then he will also need to retire the car. That's gonna happen. So the 4 people will DNF, and that's why Yuki Tsunoda will finish P16. Otherwise, he would have finished even higher if more people DNF'd. If he had a carnage on the first corner, like we did in 1998, then Yuki Tsunoda would be finishing much, much more higher, right? Either way, these are the next two DNFs, and this is what's going to happen. And this leaves us with the with the positions from P4 all the way to P8, right? Because the first three, Max Verstappen, Charles Leclerc, Lewis Hamilton, and then we have P9 and P10 of Lance Stroll and Oliver Bearman. In the middle, we will have both of the Mercedes, Isaac Hadjar, and both of the Williams. This is a tricky part to predict, okay? But I'm going to go ahead and predict anyway. I'll give you the unpredictable aspect. So the first unpredictable aspect is the Williams guys, because these two guys, they have a good car which is fast, but unfortunately recently they have been struggling with some cooling problems. Alexander Albon has some engine cooling issues and Carlos Sainz has some brake cooling issues, and it seems that they haven't resolved the issues as well. In the Silverstone Grand Prix, because it was raining, it was kind of cool, the weather was, relatively colder to a hot track, so I guess they've kind of managed things, but I don't know if they have actually found the solution to the same thing. If they did, they are definitely going to stay in the points, maybe even finish ahead of Andrea Kimi Antonelli. The midfield is so tightly packed, and now like Mercedes are right at the front of the midfield, and Williams have found their way all the way there, and they have been fighting with Mercedes and Ferrari on occasions, on pace, on merit, in race trim. So a lot of things could happen. Isaac Hadjar, absolute G in qualifying, sometimes get unlucky in the race due to the strategy mishaps, but he is still going to be there. This is my provisional top 10. Right, P4 for Osama bin Russell, Mr. Consistent, then Alexander Albon, then smooth operator Andrea Kimi Antonelli, because he's a rookie, he's gonna make a few mistakes. And again, this is dependent on how reliable these two motherfuckers cars are. Because if they still have the heating issues, then I don't know where they're gonna end up. But if we are going to look at their current pace and their experience and how intelligent these motherfuckers are in executing the entire race, I think they're going to line up Kimi Antonelli really nicely and make the overtake work on him. Perhaps they will have the tire advantage when that move happens. I definitely can visualize one or both of the Williams overtaking Andrea Kimi Antonelli on track, who will be struggling on used tires. Then we'll have Isaac Hadjar, then we have the GOAT of the sport, and then Oliver Bearman, driver of the day. Yuki Tsunoda, as usual, maintaining his consistent form since Austria, of finishing dead last, and he is going to continue the trend even in the Belgian Grand Prix. Tell you what, a lot of people were being sad that Yuki Tsunoda will leave Formula 1 at the end of 2025. I am not. He absolutely and totally deserves it. In fact, if it weren't for Honda, he would have been fired by like 2022. Because in the 2022 Silverstone Grand Prix, Yuki Tsunoda hit Pierre Gasly. Pierre Gasly DNF'd. And then Yuki Tsunoda also finished way outside of the points, or he DNF'd later in the race. It was Yuki's fault. And both of them were running in the points at the time. Because of that mistake, AlphaTauri finished behind Haas Ferrari in the constructor standings by 2 points. So if I was Helmut Marko and Yuki Tsunoda did not have the Honda sponsorship or that obligation, I would have fired this cunt from 2022. Cunt is a strong word. Jap kid, all right? I would have fired the Japanese guy from 2022. I'm actually truly surprised that he has stuck in Formula 1 for that long, and the only reason why he is driving the Red Bull in 2025 is because Red Bull don't have any other option. Their car is trash. The other two drivers in the junior programs, they are too much young and too rookie. They have tried with Liam Lawson. That experiment failed. But in my opinion, if they put Liam Lawson for longer and gave him more time, they would have had a better chance of getting something out of that car. So, obviously Red Bull do these kind of mistakes, but Yuki Tsunoda doesn't belong in Formula 1. It's been 5 years and he's still shit. He is finishing dead last in Austria. He couldn't even overtake Franco Colapinto, had a collision with him and got a 10-second penalty in a track like Austria. In Silverstone, he did the same thing. He hit Oliver Bearman, got himself a 10-second penalty, finished dead last. But this time, in Spa, I am a little bit hopeful that he is not going to get a 10-second penalty by hitting someone, which very well might be possible. But, improvements, minor tweaks, small improvements, but he's still going to finish dead last. And these 4 guys are going to DNF from the race. The title fight will actually shape from the 2025 Belgian Grand Prix. We have already finished the 12 races. There is 8 points between Norris and Piastri. They are way too clear of Max Verstappen, who will be closing the gap after the 2025 Belgian Grand Prix. There is also a sprint race. And then we will see how things evolve for the remaining 11 races of the season after that. And then Esteban Ocon, no one really cares about that. Nico Hülkenberg, after a great race in Silverstone, it will also be sad to see him DNF. Thank you for watching, like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.